was a dark and stormy night, just like the ones you see in horror movies. I was alone in my car, driving down a long, deserted road that seemed to stretch on forever. I was on my way back from a road trip, exhausted and ready to be home, but my GPS suddenly stopped working and I found myself lost in the middle of nowhere. As if things couldn't get any worse, my car suddenly broke down. I was stranded in the middle of the night with no one around for miles. Panic started to set in as I realized I had no cell phone signal. I was completely cut off from the rest of the world. I tried to calm myself down and decided to check under the hood of my car to see if I could fix it. But as I stepped out into the eerie darkness, I was hit with a sudden chill. The wind was howling, and I swear I heard whispers coming from the trees. As I opened the hood of my car, I suddenly heard a loud bang. I jumped back in fear, thinking it was thunder. But it sounded like it came from inside my car. My heart raced as I slowly made my way back to the driver's side door. But as I reached for the handle, I noticed something strange. The keys were missing. I searched frantically, checking my pockets and the ground around me, but they were nowhere to be found. I was stuck here, in the middle of the night, with no way to start my car. Feeling helpless, I decided to wait until morning and hope that someone would pass by and help me. I climbed back into my car and locked the doors, trying to make myself as comfortable as possible. But it was no use. I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. I tried to distract myself by turning on the radio, but all I could hear was static. Suddenly, I heard a voice coming from the radio. It was faint, but I could make out what it was saying. "Help me, please help me." I quickly turned it off and tried to brush it off as my imagination playing tricks on me. But then I heard a knock on my window. My heart stopped as I slowly turned my head to look. There was no one there. I took a deep breath and convinced myself that it was just a branch hitting my car. I must have just dozed off when I suddenly woke up to the sound of scratching on my windows. I looked around and saw a figure standing outside my car. It was too dark to make out who or what it was, but I could see it had long, claw-like fingers. I screamed and quickly locked all my doors. But the figure just stood there, staring at me with unblinking eyes. I grabbed my phone and tried calling for help, but there was still no signal. I was trapped in my own car with this creature lurking outside. As the hours passed, I could feel the tension and dread building up inside me. I was convinced that I was going to die in this car, in the middle of nowhere. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the figure suddenly disappeared. I let out a sigh of relief and slumped back into my seat. But then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The figure was now sitting in my back seat, staring at me with those unblinking eyes. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The figure slowly reached out and pressed on my window. The glass cracked and started to fog up as the figure breathed on it. I could see its distorted face twisted into a menacing smile. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to burst out of my chest. I was paralyzed with fear as the figure continued to breathe on my window, getting closer and closer. Just when I thought it was going to break through and attack me, the sun started to rise. The figure let out a shrill scream and disappeared into thin air. I quickly grabbed my keys, started my car, and drove off as fast as I could, not looking back. I never spoke of this night drive horror story to anyone, afraid that they wouldn't believe me or think I was crazy. But every time I drive down that road, I can't help but feel a sense of unease, and the whispers of that creature's voice still haunt me.